Hey guys, and welcome to the Dota 2 how-to guide for farming slash last hitting. This is kind of a general guide and isn't specific to any hero. For hero specific guides, check out our channel. There should be lots of guides going up about pretty much everything in Dota. So as I said, this guide's more of a kind of last hitting slash denying slash overall farming guide, but since, it's really kind of all one topic, we're only getting into one very general guide for farming. So, in terms of farming in a lane, this is something that the carry and mid hero will be doing for the most part, with the off laner picking up a little bit of farm as he's going to be mostly focusing on staying alive. Farming for the most part is both easier and harder in lower skill games, which may seem kind of weird, but it really is. This is because it's made easier by the fact that a lot of the time the other team won't be focusing on denying as much in lower skill games, which can result in much easier farm. However, in higher skill games, of course, they tend to know exactly when to attack with their heroes to land denies, and so last hitting can be a lot harder. Though, the reason it can be a lot harder in lower skill games is that your support slash lane buddy, as they tend not to pick a support in low skill games, will often be trying to last hit as well, because for some reason people have auto attacks on, or they don't really recognize gold priority needs to go to carries, and so you tend to be trying to compete for farm in low skill games, which makes it a lot harder for you to try and actually last hit. Also, in the lower skill bracket, the outer lanes are usually 2v2 instead of quite often 1v3, which means that you get harassed a lot more, and so you're trying to take less damage by falling back more often. You can get pushed out of lane. It's just kind of harder to happily farm away in lower skill games. Now, denying is another key part of farming, really. And while it doesn't directly impact your gold, it's kind of a counter-farming mechanic, because it will impact the other team's gold and experience. You should attempt to deny as much as possible, but only if it doesn't cause you to miss a last hit, as getting a last hit is more beneficial than getting a deny. Now, in terms of how you deny by attack moving on that creep, like issuing an attack order by pressing the A key and clicking that creep. You can do this if your creep is below 50% health. So you can attack your creep from half health down to dead. Now, you can also deny towers and deny your own team's heroes if they are poisoned. Only heroes if they're poisoned, but for the sake of denying, the pressing A and clicking you can actually set to just letting you click your creep. It's a scripting thing which we will cover in a scripting tutorial that will be going up, so that's all good, and well, hey, it makes the game a lot easier. Now, in regards to supports and junglers and farming out of lane, farming on supports is a lot slower but a lot easier for the most part, because it's based around stacking and pulling jungle camps, which, if you don't know what that is, there's a tutorial up for supports that goes through how to play supports and includes stacking and pulling and that. But for the most part, the reason it's easier is supports will have higher base damage than carries. They always do, because, well, they seem to start with a more of a stat focus on their primary stat than on all stats. Now, this means that getting last hits is a lot easier on stacked and pulled camps. It's also easier because it's out of lane and you don't have to worry about harass or people trying to contest it. Junglers, of course, have the same thing of no one is trying to contest their farm. They can happily just farm away, there's no one else trying to take the last hits, they can get all of the last hits, there's no one there, they get all of the XP, all of the last hits, and it's easy as hell. That's how it goes in low skill games anyway. If you play high skill games, or games with pre-made teams, they will generally try and gank the jungle, because junglers will normally be on fairly low health in jungle, because they're beating up jungle camps, which tends to take their health away, and well, jungle rotations normally result in you playing in jungle at around half health or so for almost all of the time, which makes them very easy to get killed in ganks. So, higher skill games, junglers tend to get ganked and shut down quite effectively. Low skill games, junglers tend to just get to farm away happily. So exactly how do you farm and how do you last it? Well, there are different ways to farm and different ways to last it, and in regards to farming in general, the most effective way to farm is flash farming, which is attacking down enemy creep with auto attacks and taking all of the last hits. You want to make sure that you attack them in a certain order so that you know you can take all of the last hits. And you push all the way to the enemy tower with this. Once you reach the enemy tower, you fall back, kill 1 or 2 jungle camps depending on how fast you are at killing jungle camps. You can kill more potentially if you've got someone like Anti-Mage who can very quickly traverse through the jungle and with items can very quickly clear it. And then once you've done that, you go back to lane. It would have pushed back a little into the lane, and you can then push back to their tower and then clear jungle again. This method of farming is the fastest method of farming. It will result in the highest gold and XP per min. Though it is the most risky way to farm, as you're pushing to the enemy tower on a regular basis, which means you are overextended in your lane a lot. You are in very gankable positions quite a lot. Now, the other main method of farming, which is the only other one I'm really going to discuss, is to focus solely on last hitting. So you do not auto attack the creeps at all and you only go for last hits. However, you do attack your own creep every time one drops below 50% health. This is because you're going to be doing a lot more damage to your creep than you are to their creep. And it'll result in your lane either sitting in the exact same place in the lane for a very long time or very slowly moving towards the enemy tower. Heck, at points you can even have it moving back towards your own tower. Now, this is a lot safer as you'll normally be in a good position for easy escapes and that, but you will get a lot lower gold and XP per min, so it's not as efficient, but it's safer and generally the tactic used in early game farming. On the specifics of last hitting, this can be done in a number of ways as mentioned previously, and some are considerably better than others. The most basic bog standard, this is what almost everyone does in low skill games, is you play with having auto attacks enabled in the Dota menu, and this causes you to have to issue a lot of run commands to stop yourself attacking creep. So you're running back and forth a lot. You then stop running and click to attack the creep you want to last hit. Now, this is the most common way that I see people playing in low skill games and everything, and it's the least efficient way. Because you're moving around a lot. You tend to be out of position when you click for the last hit, and then you've got to run back a little way and the attack animation and people mess this up so much. But that's probably why it's the most common way in low skill games. Now, another very common way that I see is to have auto attacks on again and to issue stop commands. That is pressing the S key on a keyboard by default. Now, stop command will just stop whatever action you're doing, so you'll be trying to attack the creep constantly, but you're manually stopping yourself. This causes the attack animation to start and stop over and over and over, and then you just don't issue the stop command on the time that you actually want to last it. Now, this is actually a very effective way of last hitting. It's very hard to deny against this because they are always in the right place and they're partway through the attack animation at all times, really. But this is really annoying, like, because you will see a guy stood there from a creep at full health and he's just spamming this one small movement of his weapon over and over and over until it gets to a point where he wants to last it. It's annoying as hell, and, well, people shouldn't do it. It also means that you're stood in one place for a very long time, which means it's very easy to hit you with aimed abilities and such, and, well, you're going to take a lot more damage this way normally. Moving on to the way that I actually play with last hits, and a lot of people I know play with last hits, and a hell of a lot of very top-end pro players, I mean, most pro players I can think of tend to play with this method. It is to have auto attacks disabled in the Dota 2 menu. This means you can stand next to creep and you won't attack them, you won't do anything to them. You can freely run round, which means you can dodge enemy hits until the point where you need to last it. Then you either click on the creep itself to issue a direct attack on that creep, or The easier option is if it is the closest creep, and you should try and position yourself so that that creep is the closest creep. You simply issue an attack move command on the ground near it or somewhere in its direction, and because it's the closest target, you will then just attack that. Now this is actually probably the most efficient way to last hit and deny, and it allows free movement in between last hits to avoid any kind of aimed attacks from enemies and such, which really makes it the best way. It's probably the most difficult way to actually get used to, but it is by far like the easiest way to actually do things. Now, in regards to heroes and last hitting, certain heroes are very easy to last hit and certain heroes aren't. This is because a lot of things sort of have an impact on it. For ranged heroes, they have the attack animation of them drawing, and then they have the projectile speed. You need to play certain heroes a lot to really work out exactly when you need to attack for getting last hits and that. Which is why focusing on one role as opposed to focusing on loads of different roles and playing all heroes is a really great way to actually play Dota. It's probably less fun in the way of you are generally role casting yourself into I do the same thing over and over. But you can vary it up, you know, when you're playing for fun, play other roles and everything, but learning one specific role tends to be the easiest way to last hit and everything with those certain heroes. Now, beyond that, certain heroes have abilities that make it easier to last hit as well, which is great. In terms of learning how to last hit well, playing games against hard skill bots is probably the best way. The reason I say hard skill as opposed to unfair is unfair bots will almost always perfectly deny. This means that getting last hits in that is very difficult, and actual players are not that good at last hitting compared to unfair bots. So playing versus hard skill bots puts you up against sort of average player deny skill, and well, you know, it makes things more realistic. So focusing on purely farming against hard skill bots is a great way to actually learn how to last hit properly. Now, while this won't actually make you better at the game in general, it's a great way to hone your skills specifically into last hitting and farming, which will help you out a lot in a real game, as you'll be able to happily farm away. A lot of people in lower skill games and games you'll probably play will be worse at last hitting than hard skill bots, so, well, worse at denying, sorry, that's what I meant to say, than hard skill bots, so you'll be able to farm easier and everything. Now, hero-wise, right now, Bristleback is probably the easiest hero in-game to actually last hit with. And so, if you're gonna try out a new method of last hitting, such as moving on to having auto attacks off and everything, playing a few games with someone like Bristleback is probably the easiest way to sort of transition. This is because, obviously, he's very easy to last hit with, and so learning a new method is quite easy. Heroes like Queen of Pain are incredibly hard to last hit with for the most part. This is because Queen of Pain has an awkward attack animation and a fairly slow projectile speed, so you kind of have to actually really focus in and really know when you need to throw to get last hits on QoP. Playing a lot of QoP can make you brilliant at last hitting though, because if you can get the attacks and last hits perfect on someone like that, you can very easily pick up heroes that have much faster, easier attack animations. You also run into then heroes like Phantom Assassin. Phantom Assassin is just all around easy to farm with. She's got a very quick attack animation, which, you know, means you can pretty much attack when you need to, as opposed to having to attack in time for the attack animation to actually land when you need it to. And with her dagger throw ability, she can last hit so easily. Even if there's another creep that's about to die, you can normally pick up both last hits because you can hit one and throw a dagger into the other. So heroes like Phantom Assassin are just great for all-around farm. Now, I hope you guys found this guide useful. It's been a very general guide and kind of just skimmed over a lot of stuff, but if you guys have found it useful, please remember to leave a like and comment and subscribe for more guides. Also go check out our channel for all of the other guides that are up at the moment, and have a great day.